Welcome. I want to welcome all our listeners to another episode of No Perspective. I'm Rue.
Jonathan, Schmitty, Rock. It don't matter what you call me as long as you listen.
Yeah, I'm K-Love.
How you doing, everybody? This week, what we want to do, we're going to touch on a real sensitive topic that plagues our community through years in and out. What we are going to speak about is domestic violence coming from a male's point of view. Now, it's coming from a male's point of view, just to let everybody know. I've never committed domestic violence, but I have sisters that have domestic violence committed on them. So this topic is extremely sensitive to me. And what I want to do is I want to start talking about some of the mindsets that the men have when they actually go through these domestic violence situations, and also some of the mindsets that the women have when they not necessarily allow themselves to be, when they stay in situations that they're aware that are domestically violent. So first question I'm going to ask to you guys is, if any situations that you just share a quick situation, any situation that you guys have witnessed or know about or been in that you have witnessed a domestic violence situation, and what are some of the initial mindsets of first the men? We're going to deal with the men first. What do we feel like is the mindset of a man that will drive them to hit somebody that they are more physically dominant than?
Okay. I'll go first. I'll keep it on me. I first want to just say that I've never saw myself hitting a woman because, for one, I know what I'm capable of. You know, throughout my years, I was an athlete. I'm an athletic person. We used to box. We're very physical. I know that I would could break a man's jaw. Imagine what I would do to a woman. So I've always been scared to ever even take it there, to know the type of damage that I might actually do to no matter whoever. You know what I mean? Especially somebody that's I'm in a relationship with, or if I'm dealing with, you know.
You're more aware of your physicality.
I'm more aware of my physicality, and that's what's always been the determining factor with me putting my hands on women. Now, with that being said, I feel like there's a lot of different levels to this conversation, being that situations to where, okay, if your girlfriend gets into a fight and she's getting jumped. I'll say a few situations that I've been in before, okay? Girls jump on your girl. You have to protect her in some type of way. Things get out of hand. No, you don't want to start knocking people out, but you do have to put your hands on the females to, you know, get them up off your girl to an extent. So that's when things can be, it's a real thin line with a lot of these situations. Another situation was when I was in college. I went to Virginia State and down in D.C., and I love everybody, but there were a lot of, young MAs, right? And a lot of them looked like dudes, and they carried themselves like dudes. So when we used to be fighting D.C. a lot in college, a few of them would jump into fights and be fighting us like they was thinking they was dudes. So one time I'm drinking, and the chick she had a box cutter, and she cut my friend. Out of instinct, I knocked her out, literally, to this day. And I necessarily don't regret it. Not because I felt like I was trying to put my hands on a woman. It happened so fast, and I didn't even really realize what was going on. But after the fact, I didn't feel bad for her because, for one, she's carrying herself like she's a man. She's talking like a man. She's acting like a man. And then, you know what I mean? She's mixing it up with guys.
So, right there, to be honest, like you said, there's so many levels to that. Right. I don't even want to go into that because it's tricky. Like, it's something you might not know. Right. So, is it domestic violence if you hit somebody that looks like? I don't want to talk. I want to talk about more of the mental side, to where we have sisters that been in relationships and decide to stay in relationships that are abusive. And I want to know, what is the mindset? I want to start breaking down that.
So you're just talking purely like relationship
I'm talking about
driven.
Relationship domestic. That's really domestic violence.
Topics and then bring it back.
Yeah,
to
but that is really
about.
Domestic violence.
Right.
Like what he's talking about, it's a little different. But I'm talking about domestic, like in the home relationship type of stuff. You mean what and mentally
imposing
what is it?
Your will on your mate,
significant other,
and trying to instill fear and dominate the relationship with fear.
Right.
So now, with that being said, no, I could never do that. But then it's also a thin line to where I need to get my respect, and that's where I feel like men go wrong because they don't know how to stabilize that respect without being physical or being threatening towards their significant other. And that's where I feel like a lot of men go wrong, because after their feelings get involved, they feel like, how can I do this with words or with actions without being physical? And what I've learned for me is that you have to give respect to get respect, and then also you have to stick to your word. If you say, look, you're not going to disrespect me, and I'm not going to live like this, you can't say that and keep going back on it, and then because she's going to keep disrespecting you if you have a type of female that's slick with her mouth, does certain different types of things. If it's getting to the point to where she's disrespecting you to that level, you have to walk away.
Because you have to set a precedent. You have to set a precedent. You have to stick to a precedent, and the precedent can't be, I'll punch you in the face.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
See, with me, I've never, committed domestic violence. I'm a big guy, so 98% of the guys in this world don't want to, I can really hurt. So, with that being said, I think it's a lack of accountability as far as the men. The world is like pretty much telling us, it's almost okay. To do this because they're not being penalized for their actions. There's a lot of guys walking these streets. I have friends, they're not really being penalized for putting their hands on a woman, right? So now it's almost, they're doing it because they can do it.
Right.
They're like, the world enables them, to feel as though it's okay to do that, to gain respect, gain, do what they.
It's just control.
Yeah.
It's a control issue.
Thing. It's
I mean, so hold on. I got when we first wrote this. We wrote this a long time ago because this is one of, I don't understand it. We're doing this because we don't understand it. Now there's parts that I'm trying to figure out, but we don't understand it. So what we want to do with this podcast is start a conversation of people coming from our perspective, and we'll maybe provoke something in women, so where you guys can comment underneath this video and tell us what you guys feel, so we can further this conversation, and it just doesn't go like he said. Nobody talks about it, and nobody
Right.
kind of condemns those people that commit these type of domestic violence. Because I'm just gonna be honest with you, I have male friends that commit domestic violence. Now I've said something once, but then I almost feel like after I say something once, and then like the girl, she's still there,
Yeah, right.
it almost feels
That's
like
what-
then
that's what
should I
happens.
even say anything? Because the girl stays, and I know that she's staying because it's a psychological thing, but still in all, I feel like, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to keep saying something? Am I supposed to knock him out?
Right.
Is that going to work?
Right.
Because I got a situation to where I was in a scenario with a guy that we know. He started while he was insecure. His insecurity made him wild out on his shorty in front of me. So he started wilding out. I jumped in, stopped it. So then he kind of turns his anger on me, but he didn't have the same level of violence.
Right.
Now me and him are arguing. He was being physically violent with his shorty, but me and him are arguing. So that goes to show you a level of consciousness that I feel like that women need to understand. Like a lot of men, what they use is I lost it. I either got drunk, I'm out of control, overly emotional. But there is a level of consciousness there because he was being physical with her. The shit turned to me. The motherfucker was verbal. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So that there is a level of consciousness that we have to make them responsible for. And me and him start going, and I let him know, like, yo, like that shit ain't cool. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if you want to be physical, we can be physical. Yeah. But if that's not cool to be doing that, it's like with your shorty, because I feel like, especially guys, men, I got daughters now. We don't want to make that. If that's okay with me, if I'm abusing my shorty, right, and that's okay with me, subconsciously I make that okay with my daughter.
Right.
That's unacceptable.
And that's what happens.
Well, that's what he's talking about, like the cowardness and a lot of guys that do, put their hands on women, because there are some guys in the 1 percentile in the world, like a Mike Tyson or somebody like that can defend themselves on both sides. You know what I mean? But for real, I'm gonna say it. They pussy. You feel what I'm saying? Point blank, period.
Yo, 95% of these dudes is pussy.
Guys is putting their
I know
hands.
about one thorough dude that he is abusive.
Yeah.
There's only one. Of the men that I know that are abusive, 95% is pussy.
Okay.
But hold up, this is the craziest thing. They girls don't believe that.
Nah, they girls think they're the toughest guys in the world.
This shit is the most frustrating thing I've ever
witnessed. So
in my life,
I'm gonna bring it to a situation that's a little more close to home. Okay, so now there's a lot of scenarios. All right, so bringing it close to home, there was a scenario to where I feel like when you have a family member who loves their guy, and when you first meet someone, you're taking them on face value who they tell you that they are. And then they're going to try to go above and beyond and try to hold up that image or that repertoire to you. And most women don't know how to read between the lines. Why? Because they're not men. They don't have those types of instincts and experiences to know how to read through the BS when it comes to somebody saying that they tough. Most women are just scared of the regular average guy walking down the street. Don't even know him. And like you said, 95% of most guys is pussy.
But this goes back to the distance that we talked about before, right? So
exactly,
now,
Kay. Tie it in.
We've known a lot of these guys our whole lives. You know what I mean? So we pretty much know that they pussy, yo.
Can't lie to
like,
us.
I mean, you can't lie to me,
Right?
So you're lying to your woman, right? And it's close to home, but you're still lying to your woman, and she believes everything.
Right. First,
that
you're lying to
you
yourself.
tell her.
Hold on. We gonna bring some story. We had one friend, right? Love him to death. I'm not gonna say his name, but he knew who I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Love him to death. We always go out, have fun. He ended up talking to a girl. You know what I mean? So he ends up going with this girl. We know her, but we don't really have, like, we're not tied to her too much to where we don't have as many friends that know each other. We're not relatable that much. So one day we in the car and we go pick her up. He leaves and leaves her in the back seat. So she just in the back seat, like literally almost like shaking and scared. So like we looking, and I'm not gonna take the credit. One of my friends asking like, "Yo, what's wrong with you?" And she like, "Yo," and she basically confides in him, and she was like she's scared of him because this man told her that he was a murderer, that he murdered 7 people where he was from.
Not just one.
This is absolutely falsified information.
Straight hitman stuff.
I was here for this.
Yo, she believed him.
Yo,
she believed him that he murdered 7 people. So she had reason to be fearful.
Right.
But we asked him. We was like, "Yo, why would you say something?" He was like, "Yo, I was just mad." And like I'm like, "Yo, what's wrong? Like that doesn't even make sense to me." But this is what people do to get a psychological
part 2 of my killing
advantage.
Part 2 of my killing spree gonna start up in here on your ass.
Yo, what's wrong with this dude?
My name Ray Gibson. I'm from New York City.
God damn it! What did he say? I'm from New York City. God damn it!
He had a spoon. He said part 2 of my killing spree.
That's exactly what it is. You see what he had to do in
there? He had to bluff.
In order to get some type of leverage in that situation. He had to bluff.
Exactly.
Now my issue is I don't understand. I'm gonna say this, Rue, me and you. Now when I could say this is like, all right, I don't want to glorify this, but you've been in dire situations to where you had to show if you were scared or not.
Yeah.
I've been in many situations. I fought a lot. I'm not proud of it, but we show our dominance.
Yes.
It's clear that we're dominant. We have women that we are extremely close to that see what a dominant man looks like, but they still get into situations with these men and believe them. This, like, personally, this is some of the most frustrating things that I've ever witnessed in my life because I don't have control. So I have to be like, so it's just like I have to sit back and deal with it. But I don't understand, how can you understand what a real man looks like, but then be fooled by somebody that it's clear? And it's not that they can fool them, but they can't fool me. I got a story real quick because it hurt my heart, and you know what I mean, I hope that people learn from it.
Yeah.
One time, you know what I mean, a dude put their hands on my family member. All right. Now, you know what I mean, I was extremely upset, and I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it for one because I don't demand anything out of somebody that I don't stick to myself. Just like when I told you when we had to deal with the situation when I wanted you to stop. You know what I mean, I had to stop drinking in order to be able to tell you not to use drugs. If I'm not putting my hands on somebody, so I don't feel like you should. I feel like you should be able to control yourself. I've been in plenty of situations where me and my shorty got into real situations to where like she basically she fucking me up. You know what I'm saying? She fucking me up, and I'm gonna get back to that. You know what I mean? But she ripped my Scott-free jersey. I love that Scott-free jersey, and I couldn't find it ever again. She ripped my Scott-free jersey. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget it. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, but I refrain. Rue, I seen you when you were like in your worst scenario, when you were completely inebriated, emotional, and you know what I mean, your shorty was trying to make you hit her, and you wouldn't do it.
Right.
So then why can't you refrain? So I only ask of you what I know that I can do, because that makes it possible.
Yeah.
So you can't give me an excuses like, oh, this I can't because
holding
of this.
You to a standard.
So this man, had one of my family members believing that he can harm us. He can harm, and that was part of his psychological thing, and that was part because he wanted to make it to where she fears not only for him, but she fears for us too. Like if she goes and tells us, then we can ultimately get hurt.
Go bad.
But this was definitely not the truth.
But this is the advantage that
this is psychological advantage. He needed that psychological advantage because it created some distance between me, you, and our family member.
Correct.
So the man, what happened? He ended up rumbling. I mean, he ended up putting his hands on her. So I didn't see him. I didn't see him for a long time. And one time I go to the house and I walk in. Now, to be honest, I didn't go to this house to do any damage. It just so happened I was going to the house. All right. I walk in and I see him. As soon as you can walk in, you see him. He sees me, right? He picks up a baby and backs himself into the corner. Nobody else sees this, and I'm walking and I'm looking at him do this, and it's mind blowing. But then my family member gets up and they get all nervous and they like try to get in between, but like he understood that he is not what he's making himself out to be. I understand that he's not what he's making himself out to be. My question for women, why is it so hard for women to understand that these men are not what they make themselves out to be? And this is, people think that, and they try to make it, oh, I'm crazy, this, and the third. One thing that I like to tell people, crazy is crazy all of the time.
Right. And I want to jump in, right? And this is the thing. This is how I want to help somebody. Okay, people who are really crazy, like us, and people that we know, I don't want you to know that I'm crazy. So I'm gonna hide my crazy. I'm not gonna.
You're insecure about your craziness.
I'm insecure about my craziness because it's real. Yeah. So I'm not promoting my craziness. I want to try to have as much normality in my life as I can. So people that's running around trying to hype up their crazy, it's a bluff. You know what I mean? It's the art of war. It's emotional warfare, and you have to know this. You got to be able to see these things, and it basically comes back down to your mental and your emotional health. You know what I mean? And women have to know that if a man is trying to control you physically, there might be something, there might be a flaw in the way that he loves you, okay? Because
he's compensating.
He's compensating for something, all right? And you have to realize that no matter how much you love this person, you need to take a step back if it starts to become violent, because what happens is it's like a rubber band, all right? When you stretch a rubber band to the max that a rubber band can go, now it's going to keep stretching, and it's going to keep stretching. It can never go back. That's why you got to be careful with relationships when you start talking to each other disrespectful. And I've been through this numerous times. After you take it to a certain level, now it's already took there. The ice is broke. You know what I'm saying? It's already, now y'all going there all the time now because the respect has been lost. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to shoot it straight to the point, right? It's a dog-eat-dog world, right? So men are lions, right? So the weakest lion, he can't survive with strong lions, right? So he's going to go to the gazelle or the deer.
Right.
It's easy catch. He can't take over this territory.
Easy prey.
You know what I mean? So so going back to that situation, right? We know this man. You understand what I'm saying? So we know that he is a weak lion. Right. He can't survive with us.
Right.
So he tried to take that over to this side to try to get that advantage because he knows he said, I have no win over here.
Right.
So now I have to win here.
Right. And I feel let's take it to another angle. Like the percentage of the men who may not be suckers, they may not be pussies, that they just lose their temper sometimes and they put their hands on the women. You know what I mean?
No excuse.
Jealous, anger, frustration, or whatever the case may be. Let's take it to these guys, right? I know a lot of them too. And, you know, I'm not condoning it, you know, but what it comes down to is that you have to learn how to communicate. Like, it goes back to what we was doing in our other episode as far as communication, trust, and respect. You know what I mean? You have to build the foundation to where you can talk about things. you don't want to get to the point to where you're frustrated and you're losing your cool to where you're putting your hands on your, like you said, because now you're passing that down to where to your kids.
You're normalizing it.
You're normalizing it, and you're losing the respect in our in the relationships and in our community. And it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, but I feel like those men are the same type of guys who can lose their temper and do something that they regret on, just with women, with it's just immaturity.
Even
it's
emotionally
immaturity.
Violent though. You know what I mean? So even when you do lose your temper to the point where you feel as though it can go left,
Yeah.
it never went left with us.
Right.
Right? We leave.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
I got it right here because you brought me into this. I talk about this to my little brothers because I try to help them understand. All right, I say if I hit a woman, can we all agree that doesn't make me a tough person?
Yeah, we can agree.
Absolutely.
So my thing that I kind of get in their head. So if I run, am I pussy?
No.
You understand what I'm saying? That's the thing that I think that we try to keep it on the same level of respect and toughness that we trying to get with the same, like with the man. But it's not. You got to understand where your win is. You have no win when it gets to being possibly physical, because what I know, a lot of the guys that are the tough guys that like, any matter of fact, all of them, mostly if you ever confront a guy and make him really talk about why they get physical, they try to blame him like, yo, she hit me first and this, that, and the third. Right. But my thing is, even if she did, let's take it there.
Yeah.
Even if she
happens
did,
it's happening
even
right
if
now.
she did,
It happens all the time.
if you hit her back, that doesn't make it correct. It literally doesn't make it correct, because you think like, oh, I gotta show her that she can't do that. Right. Like, I mean, no, like the best way is to leave. Set that precedent, because if you're arguing, that means she loves you and she wants you to either stay there, do something, so on and so forth. The worst thing you can do is leave, because now she can't argue, she can't get that emotion out no more, and she don't know where you at. Leave, hit me and watch me leave. Yeah. And then let's see if you'll ever, I won't come back, and let's see if I'll run. Is she faster? Where I'm gonna go? She faster than you? Yeah. Hit that joint and be out and like completely remove yourself from this situation, because hitting her first is completely wrong morally, but it's wrong legally. You're going to be the one to go to jail and have to deal with those repercussions. So why would you even put yourself in that scenario? And then you blame, oh, you called the cops on me. Listen, that's the first thing that we have control over is ourselves. Straight like that. Take responsibility for yourself.
And what I want to say, I want to bring it to the flip side. It is not okay for a woman to hit a man neither. No. Right? Because a lot of women out here think, oh, I can hit him. He's not going to hit me back because I'm a woman. Yeah. Nah, we're going to cut that right now. It is not okay for you to put your hands on me. Yeah. Point blank, period. If you feel as though you about to punch me, you leave now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it has to go.
On all accounts, we should all be accountable for ourselves. And just because men aren't supposed to hit women aren't supposed to like hit men either. But what I'm saying is, I'm just going to be honest. I've been punched in the face by a girl. That shit didn't hurt.
No, not at all.
My slime, it didn't hurt. So that's why, like, I low key, when somebody even says that, I kind of look at them weird.
Yeah.
Like, man, nigga, I've been punched in the face by grown men, and I've lived.
Hold on, I got a story.
What's gonna happen to you?
I got a story. I was in 3rd grade. Real shit. This is like facts. Went to bookbinder. We all went to bookbinder. Right? 3rd grade. It's a girl. I'll tell you after this show. I'm not gonna say her name, but it's a girl. When we were younger, she carried herself like a dude. Right? But now, she's grown up. She's a woman. Kids and all. But I love her to death to this day. But she carried herself like a dude. She punched the shit out of me in my face in the cafeteria. That shit hurt it, bro. Word is born. I wanted to fight her so bad.
There's a story I just seen on I don't know if Instagram or Facebook, right? Dude, some girl comes into, I don't know if y'all have seen it. She comes into the little bodega and she like, really, word? You ain't call me? You ain't da da da. He like, look, man, I got a girl. Like, da 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 da. So they getting into it. It's New York, obviously. So she being disrespectful. And New York girls, Northeast girls have a tendency to be real disrespectful, right? So she talking to him, she mushing him, and she spits on him, right? He grabs a bottle and she spits on him in pills and spins off on him real quick. How when people spit on you, they try to spin before anything happens. He grab a bottle and bust her in the back of the head with it, right? So I'm watching it, and I knew the domestic violence show was coming up, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this, and I want to address, we all weren't at this point where we're at right now. We're in our 30s, we've matured, we've been through a lot. Even still in our heyday, we still wasn't putting our hands on women. But for the younger generation who may still be a little loose and may still be a little...
No. I gotta say it how it is. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Remember your spot. They're not a little. When you're younger, you're not loose. You're more emotional. Just if I can keep it real, if we would ask me to keep it real, like, yo, why do some men? Because they're emotional. They don't know how to control their emotions and communicate their emotions.
That's exactly what I was saying.
So when they can't control it or communicate it, they just lash out. To me, that's weakness. If you can't control your emotions, it's weakness. You're like 2 minutes away from going to jail because you could get emotional in the streets and do something dumb, and now you're in jail. All of that is your emotions.
Your emotional health, and that's what I want to address. Your emotional health is something that I feel like, especially in our culture, because we losing our emotions and our tempers, and we're doing a lot of stupid things, hitting women, shooting each other, a lot of different things. Is going from fights to violence to a lot of making a lot of bad decisions behind us not being able to get in touch with our feelings, and it goes back to society doesn't care about, black people. I don't want to use black, but our culture's feelings. People don't care about none of that. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff, the only reason that a lot of stuff, and I'm not to get off topic, but a lot of stuff comes to the surface with the drug addictions and the epidemic with, the opiates and, transgender. A lot of these things, the only reason that it's becoming an issue is because it's affecting white America. It's affecting the privilege, white privilege. That's when when it starts to affect them. That's when it becomes, now we have to look at it. But before that, when it comes to our culture, don't nobody care. They don't care about nothing. So we've been trained to also not care. So our feelings become a little bit out of whack. So I feel like this is one of our missions, is to try to help the younger generations it's okay to work on your emotional health, because that was the one area, you know how they say when you start using drugs, drinking, smoking, it stunts your growth in 1 of 3 ways. Physically, it can stunt your growth. When you start smoking weed, it'll stunt your height. Emotionally and mentally. Mentally and physically, I think I was okay. I don't know how much more taller I would have got, but I started burning down at a very young age, drinking and partying, right? Mentally, I feel like I was okay. It may have hindered me a little bit. But emotionally, bro, when I really started to come into my manhood in my 30s and, started to transition and go through what I went, I was really emotionally like 14, bro. Like, that is where it hit me at. It hits everybody different, but I was really could not control my emotions. Like, I really did not have a good emotional health. So I can understand, I'm not condoning it, but I can see how people are going to need help and need some guidance on being able to control their emotional health when it comes to these types of issues, when you're going to lose your temper, especially when it's somebody that you care about, your kid's mom. Women do a lot of spiteful things, and other people too.
About being embarrassed, members. A lot of guys, we live off pride. Guys are really prideful. So a lot of guys have a problem with being embarrassed, being hurt by their woman, and they can't take it, right? So all that ties into the emotions, right? So I don't have a problem being hurt. Like, you break on me today, that's your business. You know what I mean? I'm going to move on. My day has to go on. My bills still need to be paid.
Right.
Point blank, period. I don't have time to give anybody my time behind the wall. I don't have time to do that.
Right. You give zero fucks.
I got something that I want to bring in. You were saying that, like, this is our way of, we're not trying to, like, we don't want to, like, cast any type of judgment on people that are going through this. Yeah. We are completely passionate. We have family members that go through this. We're completely compassionate about women that go through this. And with the men, like, I understand that you guys have issues that you need to be able to deal with. And women that you need to be able to deal with. And I feel like it's emotional and not learning how to control your emotions. Yes. But with women, what I feel like I have to do as a brother and a father is we have to start having all of, like, the fathers, the older brothers. We got to start having a different relationship with our sisters, cousins, because what I figured out is we end up our anger and our aggression and the whole emotion, like, if somebody touches my door, I'm gonna kill him. That plays into the abuse of your daughter.
Yep.
Because if she ever gets into a scenario where somebody is abusing her, she loves you. She loves you to death. She believes you too. You think that she believe the dude that won't do shit, but she don't believe her father. She believes that you will come and kill her dude. So part of it is she still loves him if she's staying with him. And then second of all, she loved you. She don't want you to go to jail.
Right.
So then how much of that whole selfishness of, if somebody do something, I'm going to murder him, I'm going to kill him. But you don't understand that you are playing into the reason that she is allowing herself to be in situations where she's being abused because she is protecting you. A lot of, that's one thing that's so crazy. Women that are being abused, they put themselves second to so much. It's either second to their finances, second to their children, second to somebody else, second to their love of the guy. They put themselves second. Yeah. And that's what so we're gonna go back to that. But the fathers, the brothers, the uncles, we can't think selfishly. We gotta learn how to put our selfishness and our anger aside and have a different relationship with our daughters, because we got to say, hey, they have to have the confidence in us that they could trust us to come to us, and they decide what we do.
With a level head,
they decide. I'm going. Yes, I'm going to be angry. I might tear a wall up. I might do whatever. Yeah. But I have to be there for my daughter in a certain type of way to where I can't allow her to not come to me trying to protect me.
Right.
She has to protect herself in that scenario. So she has to trust me like, I'm going to go tell my dad because I know, he is going to want to tear his head off, but he's going to listen to me. Yeah. Listen, babe, this is what happened?
Even if she
I'm going mad, I might cry. I might cry, but all right, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? And as fathers, what the hardest part about it, most of the women end up, they want to go back. Mm-hmm. But we have to start the process to allow her to know, like, this is completely unacceptable. Right. So we got to try to let her know, like, don't do it. But if you do, she's still going to be able to come back to me and say something to me. And then with that, the position that'll put you in, you could go say something to the guy too. So now he can't create that distance.
Now you're keeping it right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Holding him accountable.
Now you hold him accountable. Like, listen, I know what's going on. Right. It's completely unacceptable. And now he can't create that distance.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And that's going to go a lot better than...
I did that with one of my family members, right? I sucked up my pride. And I made her like, listen, what do you want me to do? Because I know what I want to do. I know you understand what I want to do, but what do you want me to do? She wanted me to just help her in her situation. All right. It hurt me. It hurt me to death. Just a quick story. And I had a friend, he called me and he was just like, address. He was on the phone in tears. Address, like, just give me the address. And he was like, nah, I know you, just give me the address, because he knew that, like, I got a level head. I don't want anybody to go to jail either. I could see why the women don't tell. I don't want anybody to go to jail. I don't want people to
have that on you.
To have that on my conscience. So I couldn't allow people to do it. So I went, what do you want us to do? I went to it, but I'm gonna be honest, it didn't fix the problem, but what it did, if the problem ever came up again, she was able to communicate with me, and I was able to slowly help her out of that situation, because the situation is psychological.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I was able to slowly help her out of that situation, and therefore, she ended up getting out of it. But the hardest part in that is you got to end up putting yourself second, because what I want to do is I want to rip your head off.
I want to break his legs.
Hold up, I just want to tell another story. Shit hurt me, yo. You know what I mean? The story that this dude, right? Because he saw that I wasn't allowing my selfishness to be able to create that barrier. Right. So what he had to do is he had to take it to another level, because it wasn't no distance between me and her no more. Exactly. She was able to call me and tell me stuff. So he had to figure out a way to create the barrier. So what this guy did, he started threatening my life. Like he would kill me. Yeah. But I didn't do nothing to him. Real shit. He started threatening like there was a possibility that he could harm me.
To be right.
All right. But this is one thing. This is why I want to go into this. I really do not understand why women believe these dudes. One day, just by the grace of God, I'm in the supermarket. And I'm walking. And when I be in the supermarket, y'all don't be paying attention to nothing. Yo.
Yeah.
I just be walking. Yeah. I had my daughter on my shoulder. All right? So I'm just walking around. So my shorty knew all about this because I used to confide my anger into her. That was my release. So I wouldn't jump out the window.
Yeah.
So I used to confide my anger into her. So this guy sees me, right? And my shorty was like, "Yo, there go the dude right there." So I turn and look at him, but all I saw was his jacket blow by. So I ain't gonna lie. I had my daughter on my shoulder, so I wasn't gonna do nothing to him, but I wanted to see him, and I wanted him to see me.
Yeah.
So I start going down. Yo, I turn the aisle. This bull is running out the supermarket. Yo, he's running out the supermarket, but I had my daughter on my shoulder. What are you running from, bro? Like, so this is the same. Right. This is what I'm trying to say to where I'm not doing that to try to make myself look to. I'm doing that to show you guys that you can't necessarily believe what these guys are saying because it's really just it's a story meant to control you psychologically. Mm-hmm. It's control your emotions. Your love for me will keep me in the dark because you're trying to protect me. But you can't believe that all of the time but that's what if we do it as men, and if you could trust that I won't do nothing. Hold up. If you could trust that I won't do nothing without your consent, then we can work on a different level. You won't, that little fear that they try to put in you, you won't be governed by that anymore. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So I got one question, because I have like I said, I have a lot of different friends that I speak to that are women. I want to know, what do you guys think? Are we wrong for not condemning, but are we wrong for criticizing a woman that stays in an abusive situation? Because what women like to say is that we don't understand. We don't understand what they're going through. But what other method do we have by trying to make you realize that this situation isn't healthy? Like, how are we supposed to go about that as men? Because what women do, we can't have a perspective because we never been through it.
Right.
But what are we supposed to do? I have to figure out a way to make you realize that this isn't normal. This isn't okay. So what do you feel? How do you feel like that? Or how, are we wrong? Are we being insensitive if we criticize somebody for staying in a situation that's abusive?
I want to take it somewhere bigger than just that situation, right? I never understand staying in a situation where you're getting your ass whooped. Point blank, period. If you're in the club, somebody like a whole bunch of dudes is beating your ass, you get out of there.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? You get out of there.
The shit makes sense, right?
If you're a woman and a guy is punching you in the face, smacking you, being disrespectful to you, cussing you out every day, belittling you as a person, not knowing your value and what you can offer to him, why would you stay?
But
I mean,
the
I don't
difference
think
there is that there's love involved. Okay, you getting your ass beat in the club. You don't know that
women stay for financial situations, love, children, or just fear.
Yeah,
that's it. You know what I mean?
Getting your ass whooped, I don't care about none of that. Right? Point blank. Period. It's not love.
I'm gonna tell you why.
That's basic. I want to just reword it. Is it being insensitive or is it empowering? That's my thing. Because so if I tell you like, yo, you should like you said, you should leave. You mean he doesn't realize your value? Am I empowering you or am I being insensitive?
All right, it's empowering. The reason why it's 100%, 150% empowering is because when a woman's in a relationship to where she's being mentally, physically abused, the man is manipulating her in a lot of different ways. One of the main ways that men manipulate them is to make them think it's their fault. Okay? This is why. It's your fault that you're doing this, and this is why you made me mad. You did this. This is, you know how I get. I lose my cool. So you're mind fucking her. Excuse my language. But that's basically what you're doing. You're manipulating her and you're making her feel like it's her fault. So after every incident, you go back and forth and say, I'm sorry, this, that, and the third. But then you're still rationalizing why you did it, which is still insinuating that somehow she played a part in her getting her ass whooped. You see what I'm saying?
It's like an unaddressed trauma that's happening to you.
You're brainwashing them. You know what I'm saying?
You might have seen something when you were little. You might have been a part of an abusive situation as a child. You may see your mother, your father, whatever the case may be. So it's like unaddressed. And when you do address it, now she may feel bad. She starts to understand why you feel that way, when I think it's just a cop-out.
Right.
Point blank, period.
I want to say this to women. Women, listen, we love you. I have sisters, cousins, aunts that I have aunts that passed away, that been in abusive relationships that wasn't conducive for her health. It's everything. We are not against you guys. We don't want to like make your situation seem, we're not insensitive to your situation. What we're trying to do is figure out a way to start to deal with this situation. We want to deal with this so you don't have to go through it. So your daughter, my sisters, my little sisters, my daughters don't have to go through this. But the first part that they're talking about, and they just brought up a perfect point. I believe that one of the main reasons women allow this is because you don't understand your true value. Right. All right. And what the man is also doing, and you don't understand his value, because the reason that he is being abusive is because he's compensating for a lack of one of the core values.
Yes.
So what I feel like, every woman, if you're in an abusive situation, please go back and watch our value episode where we actually talk about the core principles. We call it love requirements. To where these are foundational values that you have to recognize about yourself and your spouse. Because what it would show you is what you offer and what they offer. Now, if you're seeing that, if you're allowing a man to be abusive because of something else, say if whatever you're figuring out the reason why you're staying, it's probably because you don't realize that your value is more important than what he's offering. Things, you understand what I'm saying? Your value is more important. So you have to recognize your value, and what that would do is that will empower you to have the strength to actually leave, because you will understand what you offer. So you wouldn't be willing to take what he's offering, which is less than you deserve.
Exactly. And I feel like it also could be a combination of things, but it boils down to, let's say, in situations to where you want to stay and you want to work it out. Okay, you love this person and you have no inclination of wanting to leave. Okay, so now that's why you have to go back and look at our episode and work on those core values. You know, communication, respect, trust. Like you said, that was a perfect point of. One of those things are lacking, or a combination of the two. He's not knowing how to communicate, which is one of the main foundations in a relationship. So if he's communicating with his hands and he's losing his temper, and you want to stay with this person, you might really need to get help. You might need to talk to a therapist. You might need to get marriage counseling. You might need to, you know what I mean, speak with someone outside of your circle that can really help you if you want to stay, because without these things, we've learned, and this is not an opinion, this is a fact, that it's not going to work. You see what I'm saying? You're going to cause yourself a lot of pain. You're going to be with this person.
Because there's no change in growth. Exactly. If there's no change in growth, what happens is, and just to be honest, a man will do something where, he does something that he regrets, most likely because he knows he's going to get away with it. You understand what I'm saying? He does something and that's another part. When men do that, they know they're going to get away with it. Right. They know somehow, that it's not going to be looked upon as something that is as that detrimental. So he knows he's going to get away. He does it. And now he realizes that he did something wrong later on. For some reason, now because you're trying to show them like this isn't the behavior that you're gonna accept. Right. Now what you will accept is, like I said, I have a problem with women. Please stop accepting my potential to do better and be better as enough. Please require more. You'll accept he cries, he shows compassion, and now you go back, you really gonna work it out. He really love you. You accept the potential for him to change as enough as him changing. It's never going to happen. He didn't change.
Tomorrow never comes.
So you have to, if you do, and I'm going to say this, I don't want you to stay. If you, my daughter, you going through that, I don't want you to stay. But if you decide to, because I'm with y'all, I'm with y'all decision. That's who I'm gonna be. I'm with your decision. If you decide to, that doesn't mean that it's just okay. Now you have to put different methods and different requirements in place that he has to meet. He has to meet these standards. If you're gonna do this, you gotta go through to a therapist.
Yes.
And you're not going to a therapist. What's up? Oh, he ain't got nothing to say to me. Then you're not dedicated enough to try to be in this relationship if you won't go through something that you don't want to do. Because if you don't want to go through something that you don't want to go through, you're not dedicated enough, because that woman doesn't want to go through getting hit.
Right.
So why the fuck do you can't?
Right.
Excuse
Your
my
effort
language.
doesn't match.
Why the fuck you can't go through something that you don't want to go through, but you could put her through something that she don't want to go through? It's bullshit.
Right. It don't.
Stop.
The effort don't match.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to the men for a second. Okay. So now flip the script. Okay. For all the men out there, if you're in a relationship and you know you're with a woman who is disrespectful and who like to fight, because there are women who are feisty and who like to fight. You see. So then now you feel like, oh, okay, now we be beating each other up. You know, I know a lot of situations like that too, and I want to address that too. For the men, you have to realize you're the man. Take accountability as being the man. You're the head. You're the one who has to put a stop to it. You're the one who might say, babe, we need therapy. We can't keep living like this because I don't want to put my hands on you. And if this is how you're going to be, like we said, you have to be the man and walk away, or you have to be the man and set the tone and be an example. Like, we're trying to empower our men, to be a positive example and set the example for this next generation and for these next upcoming years. And through our culture shift that we're having right now, we're trying to start a movement to where we're having our men be accountable, and it starts with from A to Z. So if you're in a relationship, guys, and you have a woman who likes to get wild and y'all drink, and a lot of it stems behind alcohol. We go out, you party, you getting drunk, now y'all putting your hands on each other. You as the man have to know, because as soon as you put your hands on her, she could put her hands on you. But as soon as you put your hands on her, you're wrong. It is illegal, bro. You're a man, and it could be vice versa for a woman, but you're the man. You can do way more damage, and also it's cowardly. It's cowardly.
You control yourself.
I want to say this, right? If you are a man or a woman for that matter, that that does abuse your spouse or your significant other, right? I don't agree with it at all. I don't condone it at all, but there's always room for change, right? So you can get better, you can work on yourself, you can find the tools that you need to coexist in the home, in the relationship. If the woman, going back to the woman, if the woman does stay, getting help, seeking counsel, just trying to make the situation better. And everybody makes mistakes in life. We're all human. Not everybody makes the same mistakes, but we all could learn, from what you have done in the past.
I want to go through something real quick, and this is for all of the guys or women that have been abusive, that are listening to this. This is something that I want to try to help you, like, learn yourself. And what we call it is we do inventory on ourselves. All right. So what you have to do is, say in a situation you get into, your girl hits you, you hit your girl. All right. Now, our minds, we are naturally selfish. Yeah. So naturally, we don't see what we did wrong. We see what somebody does to us.
Right.
All right. Because we're outward. We're looking out.
Right.
All right. And that's I understand that. But once you are alone, and there is no argument that needs to be won. This is not a police situation. Once you're alone, it's time to do self-inventory. Yeah. Now, what you have to learn how to do is you have to learn how to flip your eyes. And you have to learn how to look at yourself. What in this situation did I control? Did I contribute to? Even if, and this is what I was saying with, we got to take away the notion of, she's wrong, I'm right. I ain't wrong, she wrong. To me, in a lot of scenarios, when there's two parties, there is no such thing as 100% of fault or guilt. There's always different levels. Because say if I sparked the argument, or she saw a girl text me in my phone, and now she starts stealing on me, and then I got too much, and then I punch her. Now she hit me first. That's what we like to do. Because that's we got that embedded in our head from childhood. Right. You hit me first. Right. But what did I do to contribute to that situation? All right, one thing. I did have to shorty text me in the phone. You understand what I'm saying? Damn, I got, maybe if I deal with that now, because what is lacking? I'm lacking trust. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have your trust, so now that's lacking. So now I end up having to compensate with something else. So you see that. So now if you deal with that and that doesn't happen, does she still hit you? Now do you have to still hit her? No, you do inventory. Now let's take it to another. She misunderstood the text. It wasn't even like that, but she started hitting you. Now you see that she did something, but you can't control other people. Nope. You only can control yourself. So now you see, she's wild and she's over emotional. You can leave. I said it. Are you pussy for leaving or running? No, you're not, because in the art of war, you got to understand who you're fighting. This is not a battle that you can win being physical.
Nah.
So you have to either communicate or you have to learn how to separate yourself. You understand? And then you can talk about it later. So now what you do by doing inventory is you recognize things inside yourself and you build mechanisms that can help you in scenarios if this ever comes up again.
Yep.
So that's what I want to say to all the men, anybody, even women that have been abusive. Please take your time by yourself. Sometimes if you have to even write it down, do inventory on yourself.
Yeah.
Go back to all of them situations where these type of encounters happen. Do inventory. Realize what could you have done in this scenario for it not to happen. So now next time when you get into the scenario, when you see that moment come up, you'll go back to it like, oh, I know what I got to do. I either got to leave or you understand?
Right.
You got to do certain things.
You have to hold yourself accountable, and that's part of taking inventory. Okay, it's holding yourself accountable and being honest with yourself, and that's all a therapist is going to do. This is therapy for us. You know what I mean? By us having this, we're doing therapy on ourselves, and then we're trying to help other people. First thing a therapist is going to tell you is to separate. You get in an argument. Whoa, let's take a step back. Even if you do, most times they tell the man leaves. You have to leave, give it some space, and then you could come back. Get your thoughts together, clear the air. Usually time calms things down, and then you can come back and readdress it. While you're out getting that air, you're taking your inventory. You know what, babe? Yeah, I was wrong. You know, even though she's my friend, but I know you told me last time, you're not comfortable with that. You know what I mean? You take your accountability. You keep it on you. You don't say, well, if you... No, there's no use. You keep it on the I. Look, and you take your accountability in it. And then even if you're in the total right to where the person was wrong, that's when you have to leave. You have to take a step back and say, look, this situation is not benefiting me. I got to take a step back because I'm being treated unfairly in this. Okay, and it's gonna make me act a certain kind of way. And now I'm only fighting fire with fire.
And now you jeopardize yourself.
So that's what we've learned.
Yeah.
And that's what works, and that's what's worked with me to where I can deal with a lot of my situations now. Pretty much anything somebody throws at me right now, I can deal with, because you know why? Because I'm being accountable to myself. I'm taking my own inventory. I'm dealing with myself first. Okay, I'm holding myself accountable to principles. A man is going to stand on his principles. That's another thing. We could talk about that for a second. This is where a man is untrustworthy. I mean, you were talking about that, okay? We're good guys, right? Growing up, we did our thing, whatever, but we have good hearts. But the areas where we were untrustworthy at were the areas where we didn't have principles. We didn't have good principles when it came to women. We had bad principles. We were taught bad principles because a man is going to stand on his principles. It's in our nature. We're loyal like that. We'll be loyal to each other. Why? Because we have principles. It's just like a wise guy. You know what I mean? He'll tell you, yeah, he's a good guy. That's a good guy there. But he'll blow your head off. Why? Because he doesn't have principles in that area of that gangster stuff in our culture. Dudes will smile in your face, be the best guy. They'll be like, oh, yo, he a good dude. Give your shirt off his back. But we out selling drugs in the community. I'm saying we because I was one of those guys to where I showed love and I'm, being once a certain kind of way in public, but behind closed doors, I'm robbing people. I'm selling drugs to my people. I'm hurting women. I didn't have principles in those areas. So you have to hold yourself to these certain principles in order for you to hold yourself accountable. Because if you don't have principles, nothing that we say in any of these podcasts are going to matter to you. It's not going to get through. You have to start to change your principles and stand on them. And that's when things are going to open up.
I want to say this also because it just made so much sense, but I want to say it in a way that maybe it could be a little bit easier. If you do commit some of these acts that we feel like are despicable, that doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. All right. You could be an extremely good person, but you committing these acts, but it's only because you have never had these principles and you haven't yet built these principles to where this type of stuff is morally wrong. So what he's saying was amazing. You do self-inventory. You mean be accountable for your actions and build those principles that are in those categories that you lack. So now, when those scenarios come up again, those principles are prevalent. Because if that's what happens to me, that is so beautiful. I understand that my emotions could get me in trouble.
Yeah.
In a lot of different scenarios. So what I've trained myself to do is completely spot when emotion flares. And immediately, as soon as something gets me emotion, I completely take a step back and I evaluate the scenario. Because I know that if I allow myself to just be free in this scenario, my emotions will get the best of me. You understand? I feel like emotions are like low key, like what it's like the downfall of everyone.
Yeah.
If uncontrolled emotions are extremely dangerous.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I've learned how to do. So that's what I feel like we're not, like I said before in this podcast, we're not casting any kind of negative judgment on anybody, but we are raising questions that we feel with scenarios that we've been in to try to help either those that have been abused, to empower you guys to not stand for that and to only work for better, and those of you that have abused people to take inventory, hold yourself accountable, and start to actually build those principles to where to you this is unacceptable. Because I know people that have been abusive, and if somebody did that shit to their daughter, that shit is not okay.
Right, so you're a hypocrite. That's what you gotta. Those are the principles, right?
Yeah,
there.
but you gotta hold yourself accountable to the principles that you will hold somebody else accountable to too. Right? You know?
Definitely, man.
So guys, listen, we love everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank everybody for continuously watching. We just want to build with everyone, and we want everyone to learn from us and use our thoughts and our perspective to start to build your own. So thank you for watching. John signing out.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks for watching No Perspective. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat.